It is so gray outside. So gray. Wow. Alright. Alright guys, I am currently in the woods. I wanted to say something. I wanted to get it off my chest, I guess. More so just talk about the topic and the ideas of like being alone. How to adventure solo. How to take, you're adventuring to the next step and not do it with anybody, but with yourself. Ultimately, there's a lot of pieces that go into this. If you're comfortable navigating by yourself, if you're comfortable being alone with your thoughts, if you're, comfortable talking to people on your own and not needing validation from others. Because essentially we assign the meaning that if we don't have anybody next to us, we don't have any value. Like, there's no one taking care of us, there's no one listening to us, there's no one doing anything of the sort. And so it gets to the point of like, okay, well, can you live without that? And can you also put yourself in a stressful situation, in an environment, a new environment, right? Adventuring somewhere where you don't know, and be okay. And I've done, a few soloing adventures where I go out to, smaller nature preserves and different trails, hiking. I've also gone across country, road trip all the way out to California and back to North Carolina by myself. I've gone solo to Egypt and Jordan and have made friends there. So, who's to say that there's no friend making along the way of your journey? I do want to say that, with all of this, you learn the most by adventuring alone. I think there's no other thing like it. I think you learn the most about yourself and how you do things, how you react, that you cannot get anywhere else. Literally just doing solo adventures is a pure way to find out what you're made of, honestly. But yeah, so like ultimately, like I always say to myself, like if I'm ever in trouble, I know I could get myself out of situations. And just kind of fully relying on yourself to get yourself out of situations, sticky situations that may be uncomfortable, that that you have yourself. And then again, this applies to your life of like, being alone and, doing things on your own. Like you get so comfortable with doing that because you have all this practice from when you've traveled solo, when you've, gone on these hiking bits alone or whatever the case may be. I think ultimately knowing that you have yourself is something that's irreplaceable. I think that's just like a part of growing up, really, is just finding comfort within yourself. I do also rely on like nature. It calms me. It's like a own nourishing type thing. I don't know, when I'm out in nature I feel better. So if I'm going on a solo adventure or whatever, it's going to be out somewhere in nature, or it's going to be in a country where it has a lot of nature, just so that it's activating that calmness ability that I have. So probably like no cities or anything like that, a bit more slower pace. And it's also about, just knowing yourself, like how much can you take, how much can you do, like can you navigate these things, can you do it in a different language, can you figure out how to do all these things. And I think ultimately like you get more comfortable and well versed in that stuff, and I think the more that you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be. But you always start off small with a small adventure, a small country, something small that is very doable. You just gotta take the steps and do it. Most of my solo adventures, or most of my YouTube videos that I do, adventures or whatever, are solo. And at this point, I find so much comfort in it because, again, like I'm alone. I get to think my own thoughts without being told what to do, how to do it. I get to just be free and really be curious about everything. Like, why does a stick look like this? Like, how did it form? Like, what kind of bugs are on it? Things like that. Like, you just get to be so curious, and I somehow get lost in the curiosity of just exploring, like, what's over here, what's down in this river, like, what's, you know, what does this feel like? And so I just get really curious, and that curiosity kind of just blocks out everything else, like the worry, the fear. And I think that the thing also that makes me want to do all these solo trips is that it scares me. It scares me quite a bit. And I think doing things that scare you is one of the best things, because at the end of it, at the end of doing it and completing it, you have this greater sense of like, wow, I did it. I completed it. I did it on my own. Like, you know, I never knew that I couldn't do these things. Then you're sitting with yourself and you've done it, you did it, and now you're going to look for the next thing, the next adventure, the next, you know, big step. And I find that doing things alone sometimes is better than doing it with somebody else. Like, you know, with somebody else, they have their own thoughts and ideas and things about how the adventure, the trip should go. When it's just you, you just are like, okay, well, I'm gonna go here, so you just go there, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back here, and you go back there. So it's like, you know, there's no friction in doing anything. You just get to go. And that's, you know, a really cool thing about just doing things alone, is that you get to have your own thoughts and opinions and things. And ultimately that is, you know, a bit more scarier, because you get to make all the decisions, like you get to make all of these choices, and where you end up is ultimately your fault. There's no blame. You put yourself where you put yourself. And also I think that, you know, doing solo trips holds accountability. You learn a lot about, okay, I messed this up, like, I know for the next time, things like that. And I talk a lot about that on my channel. Doing things alone and solo traveling and doing solo exploration missions out in the woods are something that's needed, something you learn from. It's really important for growth, because relying on yourself, knowing that you have yourself, it just makes everything 10 times better. And, you know, it shows in your life as it is too. Like, you know, with relationships, you're a lot more individualistic, I guess. Like, you can rely on yourself. So, like, if things went south, you know that, okay, well, you know, that's just not it. It's time to move on. It's peaceful. And sometimes I feel like people just forget to really embrace being alone. Really, you know, think about all the things that they want to think about when they're alone, because they've always been told what to do, what to think about, you know, how to help somebody else, you know, even since we were young kids, like how we help our parents, like, you know, things that we do, or like friends, we're always looking after somebody, you know. So it's like when you're alone, you don't have any of that responsibility. So we like ultimately, inevitably freak out, because we're like, okay, well, now what do we do? Who do we take care of? Like, what's going on? And so, man, that bird is really annoying. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a lot. That's been on my mind a lot lately, is just being alone and having adventures by yourself and not relying on other people to go with you. That's another thing. Like, if people tell you that they're going to go with you, have a plan, have an end course, because most of the time people bail and they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, this came up. Maybe it's just my years of being on the earth and not trusting people, but I don't know. If you're going to travel, make plans and then go with or without them, because ultimately you probably just have the most fun time, even more so if you went without them than you did with them. But maybe that's just my perspective. I don't really know. It's also nice to share moments, I guess, but I feel like when you're trying to figure it out and you're in your 20s, I feel like solo adventures are where it's at, and you could just meet people along the way. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about that for a hot second. It's starting to sprinkle, it's starting to rain. I don't really want to move. I think it's going to start pouring here pretty soon, so I've got to go get back to work. I've just been standing under this tree because I know it's like pouring, but it's like dry under here, so I don't want to go. So I'm doing some quick research here, just about like living in Florida and like things that I could benefit and stuff. And I was just really curious about how looking and seeing a body of water every single day has an impact on your mind. Because of course, I go to that lake pretty much almost every day and watch sunsets and stuff. So I just wanted to see like what it does to my mind, and I looked it up, and it's called blue mind state. And basically it's a calming condition, so it lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate, and it reduces the stress cortisol. And the consistent exposure to water enhances, cognitive function, increased feelings of happiness, and triggers feeling of awe and relaxation. So I just thought that was really interesting to learn about. I'm like taking little notes, and yeah. So I think it's pretty interesting to be living by bodies of water and being influenced by them, whether we're logically aware of it or not. Psychologically aware of it, I don't know, something, you're just aware of it. But yeah, and again, like when it comes to bodies of water, there's movement, you see the movement, you like sync up with it, it's crazy. And then also there's more wind, air by the ocean or by a body of water is just scientifically proven. And when you get more oxygen into your brain, you just feel better. That is kind of why the blue mind state happens. And so I just thought that was really interesting to learn, so I thought I'd share it today as I'm doing a quick little research, because I got distracted because I am falling down a little wormhole. Alright, so I just did a live stream in my car. Now it's time for a little cheat today. It is 32 degrees outside, freezing, in Florida right now. Like, this is some crazy, like, global warming type stuff right now. But I'm not complaining, I like it. I get to wear, hoodies and scarf, everything. I'm wearing double pants right now. I actually didn't bring warm clothes. Because I figured, I'm gonna need cooler clothes for, the heat. Not the heat right now. I'm actually gonna get a long sleeve shirt from my car. Also, there was a crazy storm last night, and like it was just so windy and loud, and it was crazy. I was like, oh my god, like I hope like this tree doesn't fall on my truck. That would be bad. That would be bad. I do, however, have my winter goose gloves, so that could be nice. Yeah, it's really cold by the lake. It's really freaking cold, but this is pretty crazy that I'm like in Florida. It's like record-breaking cold here. Like I'm in the south part too. What? Anyways, I'm drinking iced coffee as well. Some of you guys might think I'm crazy to be out in 32 degree weather with no like winter coat or hot coffee, but actually, hot coffee or cold coffee makes your body warmer because your body's doing extra to warm up the liquids. Anyways, I wish I was more so in the sun part, but because the sunrise comes from over there and the sun sets like over here, so. But these ducks must be cold in that water, bro. Also, for context, today is February 1st, 2016. 2026. Sorry, I'm on my second cup of coffee. We're working on it.